So just like how we started our physics class, it will be the same way we are going to start with the math also. So we'll be seeing what are all the topics that are there for your 11th standard and what we are going to discuss for today. Okay. So, yeah. So we'll start. See, if you look at your math syllabus, no. So your math paper is going to be for 80 marks. So it is a total of 80 marks in 3 hours. So you have 6 units present in it. And the first unit is what is called as set and functions. Okay. So this is one of the new branches that you're going to completely learn. And the next one is algebra. Then you have coordinate geometry, and you have another important branch of math, which is called as calculus. And this mathematical reasoning is an independent topic. And you have statistics and probability. These two terms you have already heard last year. Okay. Let's see what are all there under individual units and what exactly you're going to learn in them. So if you look at the first unit, as I told you, it is set and functions. When you talk about this, it is about the collection of elements. Okay, collection of certain elements is what you're going to learn in this, and how to combine them. So collection of elements and how to combine them, how to classify them is what we are going to see. So there is a completely, I can put it like a, mostly it is a theoretical chapter where you need to convert the English terms into some mathematical factors and then try to analyze this stuff. Okay, and the next one is relations and functions. So as the name suggests, relations is going to tell you how two elements of different sets are related to each other. Okay, so function is going to be a special type of relation. This is also a new topic. So these two are again new topic. The interconnection of set to relations and functions is what is given here. Okay, and the third part is trigonometric functions. So last year we would have learned only as trigonometry. This year we call them as trigonometric functions, as simple as that. Okay. So again, you need not worry much about this function. This is the topic we are going to start with today. Okay. If you ask me what is the reason why I'm not taking these two, it is because these two are completely new to it, and more of theory is involved in it. So just to create some interest in the subject, I'll start with trigonometry because you've already learned trigonometry in your lower grade, in your 10th standard, right? So today we are going to start with this particular branch. Then you have a topic called as principle of mathematical induction. Then you have a topic named as complex numbers and quadratic equations. So you would have learned quadratic equations last year, right? So when you dealt with quadratic equations, you would have learned a concept called as discriminant. So discriminant is nothing but b square minus 4ac. So if b square minus 4ac is equal to 0, then you say the roots are real and equal. If b square minus 4ac is greater than 0, you will say the roots are real and distinct. Right? Now, b square minus 4ac is less than 0, you say no real roots, right? So the opposite of real is what is imaginary, and those imaginary numbers are what are called as complex numbers. That's what this chapter is all about. So the answer to the discriminant being less than 0 will be given in this chapter. That is why it is combined as complex numbers and quadratic equations. Okay, so that's what we will see here. Then you have something called as linear inequalities. Last year in your 10th standard, you would have learned linear equations in two variables. Before that, you would have learned linear equation in one variable. So 2x is equal to 3. This is a linear equation in one variable. 2y is equal to 5. Linear equation in one variable. 2x plus 3y is equal to 0. Linear equation in two variables. Everywhere I'm using one common term, I'm using the word equation. Okay. The reason why we are saying equation is because you are using a symbol equal to. That is why we call them as linear equations. So what do you mean by linear? Linear means the degree is 1. Right. So when you have 1 degree equation, then we call it as a linear equation. Depending on the number of variables, we call them as linear equation in 1, 2, 3, 4, how many ever it is there. In this chapter, what you will learn is the same thing slightly in a different way. For example, instead of giving 2x is equal to 3, they'll give you 2x is greater than 3. Then this becomes a linear inequality. So this is linear equality and this is linear inequality. As simple as that. Our work is to solve these kind of inequalities. That's what this chapter is all about. Next is permutations and combinations. It's all about how, if I give you a particular objects, if I give you certain objects in your hand, I ask them to arrange in a particular format. That's what this chapter is all about. So if I give you, let's say I give you 10 books. I give you 10 books, out of which some books are small and some books are big. I'm saying stack them up in a particular cupboard in such a way that it looks better. So you can think of different combinations. You will try to keep the smaller book on the top. Some might think of keeping the smaller book at the bottom. So there are different arrangements possible, right? So how many types of arrangements is possible? How many ways we can think of arranging them is what is this chapter all about: permutations and combinations. Okay. Then you have a topic named as binomial theorem. This is again going to be a part of algebra. For example, if I have a plus b, I know what is the formula for it. If I have a plus b square, I know the formula for it. If I have a plus b cube, we can write it a cube plus b cube plus 3a square b plus 3ab square and so on, right? So you write it like this. Similarly, if you have a plus b whole power 4, yes, to the maximum extent, you can write it as a plus b the whole square, and then solve it. If suppose I give you a question like this, a plus b the whole power 40, it will become difficult for us. You cannot sit and raise it to the power 4 and multiply it 10 times. So that time, this binomial theorem will help us. So this is a branch of algebra which will help us to understand how to expand these kind of terms. Then sequence and series, last year, which you have learned as arithmetic progressions. So arithmetic progressions are there. In addition to arithmetic progression, you will learn something called as geometric progression also. That is what is a new topic that is going to come. Okay. Then coordinate geometry. Last year in your coordinate geometry, you would have maximum learned about the distance formula. You would have learned about section formula. Then you have the midpoint formula and centroid. These are all the things. This year what we will do is we will start writing the equations for straight lines that are given. So you would have learned this point, right? 2x plus 3y is equal to 5. It is a linear equation in two variables. In general, what do linear equations in two variables represent graphically? Graphically, what are linear equations in two variables? Can someone tell me? Can someone tell me? If I ask you, what is a linear equation in two variables represent when you draw it on a graph sheet?
It represents a straight line.
It's a straight line. Very good. So last year what would have happened is they'll give you the linear equation and ask you to solve it. This year what you will do is you yourself will write the equation of the straight line. Okay. So then you have something called as conic sections. So these are all slightly complicated. Let me not introduce now so that you're not confused much about it. Then you have another branch called as calculus, which is very important, as I told you. We will see them in detail later. So we will start discussing about the trigonometric functions today. So yesterday I told you, right, we started with little bit of basics, when to apply trigonometry and all those things. We will see certain parameters related to trigonometry that we are going to apply this year, learn and apply it this year. And remember one point, this year, unlike last year, trigonometry is not applicable only for this chapter. This is a very, very important chapter with respect to the other chapters also. For example, you can apply trigonometry in complex numbers. You can apply trigonometry in sequence and series. You can apply trigonometry in straight lines. I'm not saying you can. You might have a scenario where you need to apply it. Okay. And you need to apply it for conic sections, then three-dimensional geometry, and of course for calculus also. You might have to apply. You might have questions which are based on trigonometry. To get into physics, the topic which we discussed today, we discussed vectors. No, vectors also needs trigonometry. Okay. So that's why try to focus. Things are simple only, not so complicated. Just work on a regular basis, you will get it easily. Okay. So we will start with the basics of trigonometry. So yesterday itself I asked you a question: when is trigonometry applicable? When you have a right angled triangle, right? So that's what trigonometric functions. So as of now, don't worry about the term functions. I will discuss about it in depth later. Okay. So as of now, treat it like a normal trigonometry based problem and try to solve it. Okay. See, in general, when you have a right angle triangle, when you want to apply trigonometry, you will take the 6 trigonometric functions, right? Sine, cos, tan, cosecant, secant, and cot. You take all these functions. To those functions, what is the input you give? Input in the sense, if I ask you sine, that my sine is equal to what? If I ask you a question like this, does it make sense? Or should I put something inside this and ask you what? Sorry?
Theta.
You need to put something called as theta. That what theta, what does it represent? It represents the angle. So if I write it only as sine, it doesn't make any sense. But if I ask you what is sine of 30 degrees, it makes some sense to us, right? You will say the answer is half from the trigonometric table that you have. How we have got those values, we will see it later. That is our next headache. But we need to understand that if you have sine, you definitely need an angle to be substituted in it for you to find the specific value associated with it. Okay. So as we know, if I take this as theta, then with respect to theta, this is called as the adjacent side, and this is called as the opposite side. This is called as the hypotenuse. So you have different things, right? So if I say sine of theta, the theta can be anything between 0 to 90 degrees or 0 to at the maximum less than 180 degrees it has to be. Okay, it cannot be 180 because you cannot form a triangle. So you'll have different angles. As of now, you would have learned it between 0 to 90 degrees. Let's have it with that in the mind. So when I ask you theta, you say 30, and what are you saying there? What is the next word that you use? So if I ask you what is sine 30, does it make sense? Sine 30 means you will say half. Am I right? If I ask you what is sine 60, what will you say? What is sine 60?
Root 3 by 2.
Root 3 by 2.
Root 3 by 2, right? But I'm saying it is wrong. You should have asked me a question. Sine 60 of what? Sine 60, I need to use the word degrees. Okay, what does the 60 degree represent? What does the 60 degree actually represent? What is the mathematical name to it? 60 degrees is nothing but the angle, right?
Angle.
Right. Angle between what? So if I ask you, see, you would have learned different types of angles and all those things. Right angled, equilateral. Equilateral means you say it is 60 degrees. You would have learned different angles. But if I put a question like this, give me a definition for angle. What will you say? Sorry, I didn't get you. Just try. No, even if it is wrong, no harm in it. There is nothing wrong in trying. No, just try. Even if it is wrong, we'll have a discussion. So I'm putting a question. Define angle.
Space between two lines.
Sorry.
Space
You're
between two lines.
Space between two lines. Do you think that makes sense? See, space between two lines. If I draw one line like this, if I draw one like this is also called as space technically. I cannot call it a space.
Huh?
So angle has some,
Sir, distance between 2 points with respect to one.
Between two lines.
See, if you use the word distance, no, so whosoever used it, if you use the word distance, then I should have written it as sine 5 centimeter is equal to what? I should have written like this. Because distance is measured in either centimeter, meter or something. You should not use the word distance. Something else.
Sir, we can say that the space between two lines
It's measured in degrees.
Space between two lines. I don't think it. I'm not convinced with the word space.
Which is measured in degrees.
See, the reason you might think why I'm stressing this
Between two lines.
arc. Okay, Meenakshi, is that you?
Sir? Yes, sir.
So when you say arc, no, it is like you're saying, see, this is going to be the arc. It is not the arc also. Then it will become arc length. Something else which you can say. See, what exactly, like, I'll give you a hint of how you can think. Okay. Sorry, ma'am?
Two different lines coming from different directions intersect at a point which makes an angle.
two rays. Space
See,
between
Two rays.
okay, two rays. Okay. See, I'll put it in very simple terms. I'll give you a hint, okay? I'll give you a hint. If you people think in this term. If suppose I have a line like this, okay? I have another line like this. I'm giving a protractor in your hand and asking you to measure the angle between these two. Then what is it you're going to do? So I myself will tell. So there's a basic thing. From this, you please try to frame a definition to it. Now I have a protractor. So it is going to be something like this. You will have the reading starting from 0 to 180 here. So what exactly you do? You keep searching for the numbers on this, right? You will see for the readings on it. And where will you exactly stop? You are going to stop exactly where the second line is coinciding with respect to the first line. Means you're keeping the first line as a reference. You're taking the second line. So what exactly are you doing to your eyes? I'm drawing an arrow mark, observe. If you can give me a technical name, if you give the name to it, I'll be happy. So I've drawn an arrow mark. What have I done? So what are you exactly doing to your eyes? The word that starts with R. Sorry? We call it as rotating. Okay. So what exactly we are going to do is, let us visualize angle in the first place. You need to have a clarity of it, or else you're not going to understand. Just give me 1 minute time. I'll get a small item to show you. Okay. So visualize it. I'm switching on my video. See, I'll be visible only in a grid mode. Please observe. So see, I have a marker here. Okay. I have another marker placed on top of it. Okay. I'm trying to hold it at one of the corners, one of the ends, I can say. Now, if I ask you to define the angle between these two, then what will you say? If I put a question, what is the angle between these two markers? What are you going to say? Your answer is going to be? It's going to be, sorry? Mithun, yeah. You were saying something.
0 degrees.
It is 0 degrees. Very good. You use the units also. Now, if I ask you to increase the angle between them, I'm saying initially you have an angle of 0 degrees. I'm saying you increase the angle between them. Then obviously, what does your logic tell you? What is it you are going to do? Rotate one with respect to another. I'm using the word with respect to in the sense I'm going to keep one of the markers fixed. The other I'm going to rotate. If I rotate it and hold it here, am I able to subtend some angle between them? This is the angle. Are you able to visualize what it is? Right? How are actually angles formed? Initially it was 0 degrees. I rotated and I brought it here. I made some angle. It is up to me. I will rotate and stop it here. But what did I do? I kept one of the markers as a reference, means I kept it fixed. I kept rotating the other things. So how is actually an angle formed? How do you form an angle between two lines? So from this you can get an idea.
We can increase the perpendicular distance between the two lines.
Let's not use the word distance at all. No? Let's make it simple.
Length.
What exactly did I do? I wrote the word also.
A rotating array with respect to the other ray.
Very good. That's it. So if you have one ray, if you rotate one of the rays with respect to another, then whatever you're forming between them is what is called as angle. So angle, how can you define? The rotation of one line with respect to another line about a fixed point. Am I clear? So when that is going to give you the angle, if at all you are going to use a protractor, then the protractor will give you the angle in terms of what units? Then the protractor will give you the angle in terms of what units?
Degrees.
It will give you in terms of degrees. Similarly, see, those who are not able to understand, if suppose I want to measure the length of this, okay, this is a very small pen. If I want to measure the length of this, if you have a scale in your hand, if I try to keep the zero of the scale at one of the ends, I try to measure the other end. If you say X is the answer, that X you will write it in terms of what units?
Centimeter.
You'll write it in centimeter because you're using a scale which is calibrated in centimeter, right? Similarly, when you use a protractor is calibrated. Calibrated means it is prepared for that value. Calibrated for measuring only in degrees. Okay. Now, in this year, what we are going to do is we are not going to measure the angles in degrees anymore. You will extend the concept to something called as radians. Okay, that is going to be the first topic that we are going to see. If you're able to see me, I'm switching off my video. If there is any doubt, please let me know. So if you look at my screen, the very first topic that is given is angles. Okay, so now you would have visualized it, what exactly angles mean. So if you have two rays in your hand, so rotating one ray with respect to another is going to give you the angle. So I can measure the angle in terms of degrees with the help of an instrument. What is the instrument that I'm using? If I want to measure the angle, I need to use a protractor. But speaking in real times, it is not possible for us to have the protractor in our pocket every time. Okay, we need to have more generalized method to calculate it. So something which can be measured easily. Okay, without the help of an instrument like a protractor. Then one of the units that is used for angle is going to be degree, and the other unit, as I told you this year, the angle which we are going to measure is what is going to be in terms of a unit called as radian. Okay, this radian you will learn in physics also in the chapter units and measurement. So from here only the concept gets linked there. Okay. Now let's try to dissect things and understand what it is. So if I take a circle, okay, I'm taking a circle. If suppose I have this as the starting point, I'm starting from point P. If I make a complete rotation in the sense I'm starting from point P, then I'm coming back to the same point P. Then what is the angle that I've covered in terms of degrees?
360.
I have covered 360 degrees in how much time? In one complete rotation. Am I right? In one complete rotation. Now, how can I relate this 360 to 1 degree? If I ask you to define 1 degree, how will you say? So I'll give you a hint. See, before you proceed, I'll give you a hint. I'll try to give you a small measurement. I'm zooming and showing. Observe. So if I zoom and show, you're saying this 360 because if I take this as the reference, that is, if I take this as 0 point, then you will have 1 degree, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It keeps on going. Like this, how many such red lines am I supposed to have between the points P to P? That is, in one complete rotation, if you count the number of lines, how many lines will be there?
360.
360 degrees, if that is a way of design. Then can I say this, if I join the base to the first most line, then can I call this as how much degrees?
1
1
degree.
It is going to be 1 degree. So to obtain this 1 degree, how many rotations did you make? You made 1 by 3/60th of a part. That is how the definition goes. See, observe here. If you're measuring something in degree, if I want to define what is 1 degree, if a rotation from the initial side to the terminal side, let us understand what is the initial side. So initial side is the starting actually. Again, it is like vectors only. Initial side to the terminal side. So one more point I want to stress actually. If you put an arrow mark like this, we call it as counterclockwise rotation, CCW. Or you can also call it as anti-clockwise rotation. They both mean the same. Similarly, if the arrow mark is put in the downward direction, then we call it as clockwise rotation. Okay, that is, if you look at your clock, that is how the seconds or the hands, anything is going to move. That is why we call it as clockwise. And this is the opposite of it is called as anti-clockwise. Have these two terms in mind because this is repeatedly used throughout physics and math. Okay. Now, if a rotation from the initial side to the terminal side, that is from the starting side to the ending side, is going to be 1 by 3/60th of a revolution, then that angle which is measured is what is called as 1 degree. Okay. Then what happens is, in British system, that is what we are going to follow. There are two types of systems which are actually given to measure the angles. I'll show you that part also. So you're able to see this. There are two decimals. One is called as a British system. The second is called as the French system. So one is called sexagesimal system, which is the English measure or British system. This is the one we are going to follow. And the next one you have is centesimal system. Cent stands for 100. Okay. So what happens here is, we understood what is degree. So degree is 1 by 3/60th of a rotation. So I hope that point is clear. Right. So for the sake of understanding, I will zoom it even more. Since you're able to see here, if I place a protractor, I'm making my marker thin. Please observe this clearly. I'm making the diagram even more thin. So if I take this as a starting point, from here to here, it is going to be 1 degree. Okay. Now what we can do is, so what exactly we did is, we divided 360 into 1 degree each. Now within this 1 degree, there is going to be a subdivision in the sense, within this 1 degree, it is further divided into 60 parts. So 1 degree is further subdivided into 60 parts, and each part is given a name called as minute. Okay, so this is a new term that you're going to learn now. So I'll show you what it is. Observe. So reading it here. So we know that 1 by 3/60th of a revolution of angle is 1 degree. A degree is divided into 60 minutes, and each minute is further subdivided into something called as 60 seconds. Is everyone clear with this? This is the important point. There's the concept on which the problems are solved. Is everyone clear? So to better give you a version, if this is going to be 1 degree, then this 1 degree is divided into, if I draw lines like this, there will be 60 such lines. Then each angle between two subsequent lines is called as 1 minute. Okay. If I take this as 1 minute, minute is represented with a symbol 1 with a dash on top of it. If I take this as 1 minute, then this 1 minute is further subdivided into 60 seconds, and it is done for a concept called as precision. Precision means it is like how accurate your value is going to be. Okay, generally when you use a protractor, say for example, if you want to understand what is precision, if you use a protractor, you get one line here and another line here. If this is going to show you 1 degree and this is going to show you 2 degree, let's say the line for which you're trying to measure the angle, it is stopping somewhere between 1 degree and 2 degree. Then what is going to be your answer? What will you say? How will you decide?
We just round it off.
You just round it off, no? So when you do this rounding off, the answer is not said to be accurate. Whereas if I have an instrument in my hand, where between 1 degree and 2 degree also I have such divisions, then will you have the necessity to round it off? No need, right? Because this between 1 degree and 2 degree, how many divisions are there? Between each 1 degree is divided into how many divisions?
60.
So if suppose it is stopping at this particular line, no, I can be more precise. Rather than reporting the answer as 1 degree, if I report it as 1 degree 30 minutes, my answer is more accurate. You're able to understand? So it is for this, to bring in this particular accuracy only, this kind of a division has been taking place. Okay, I'm repeating it again to put it in very simple terms. 1 degree is nothing but 1 by 3/60th of a rotation or revolution. Then 1 degree is further subdivided into how many minutes? 1 degree is divided into 60 minutes, and you write it as 60 with a dash on top of it. Okay, and 1 minute is divided into 60 seconds, and 1 second the symbol used is 60 with a double dash. So you read it as 60 seconds. Is it clear till this step? And this kind of a measurement is what is called as degree measurement. Am I clear with this? How to solve the
Yes,
problem,
sir.
that is a different story that I'll teach you. Concept is clear. I got one response. Others?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. Then we are good to go for the next concept. As I told you, the other unit that we, yeah, someone is asking. Any doubt? Okay. So since we have finished degree measure, now we will see what is radian measure. Okay. So radian measure has something to do with the length of a circle. Okay, length and radius of a circle. Let's see what it exactly means. So I'll show you the derivation of it. But before that, I wanted to mention one point. I told you what is counterclockwise and what is clockwise, right? So throughout your mathematics and physics, any angle which is measured in the counterclockwise direction is always positive. So have this in your mind. Any angle which is measured in the clockwise direction is always negative. If you ask me, that is a universally followed notation. That's it. Okay. It is positive, it is negative. For example, if you write the angle as 60 degrees, they will understand that you're rotated in the anti-clockwise direction. If you write the angle as minus 60 degrees, then the person who's reading your paper will understand that you're trying to measure the angle in the clockwise direction. This minus and plus are just an indication for others who are reading the answers you're writing. Okay, and you also need to have a clarity of how the angles are measured. For that only the examples are given here. See, if you observe this, there is a complete rotation. Since the rotation has taken place in the anti-clockwise direction, the angle measured is positive. That is why plus 360. Here also anti-clockwise plus 180. Here also anti-clockwise plus 270. Here also anti-clockwise plus 420. Whereas here it is clockwise. So clockwise is going to be negative. Minus of how much value? 30 degrees. So similarly, here if you see, the angle is measured in the clockwise. So if the coil is like this, then the arrow mark is to the right, then it is clockwise. If the arrow mark is to the left, then it is anti-clockwise, minus 420. Okay. So two important points that we consider. So three important points rather. We understood what is angle. Angle is a rotation made by one ray with respect to another. Okay. When I say with respect to, one is fixed, one is rotated. Second, we understood the different angles, different directions in which these anti-clockwise and clockwise are called as directions. So we understood what are the different directions in which the angles can be measured. Right? Any angle measured in anti-clockwise is positive, clockwise is going to be negative. And the third is we concentrated on what is a degree and what is minute and what is second. So these parts are over. Now we are going to concentrate on a measure called as radian. Let's try to understand. So radian is a particular measure of measure of angle, which has a relation, which has something to do with the lengths of a particular circle. Okay. So when I say length of a particular circle, let's see what are all the lengths that are associated to a circle. So if I have a circle here, let me make it small. So if I have a circle, right, then the circle will have a specific radius associated with it. So what is radius? If I ask you to define radius, you will say it is the distance between a fixed point called as a center and any point on the circle. Am I right? Now, if I keep my compass here at the center, and if I keep my compass at the center and I try to turn the compass in the anti-clockwise direction, for understanding, it is not necessary you need to rotate only in anti-clockwise. Just for the sake, for this time, I'm rotating it in the anti-clockwise direction, and let's say I'm stopping it here. Okay, I've started here, my compass has started here, and I have stopped here. Now, if I take a separate diagram and draw it, then the diagram that you will be able to see on the paper is only this much. Right. Now, this is going to be the starting point. From the starting point, if I join this to the center, let me call it as point P, then this distance is going to be radius. Similarly, this is the end point. B is the end point. From the end point, if I join it to point P, I'm going to get another radius. Right, this is also radius and this is also radius. Now, if I'm able to measure the angle between both, okay, so going forward, remember, angle should not be written like this. Don't put this and leave. You should mention the direction also. If I take this anti-clockwise direction, then I should be able to find the value of this theta if I know what is the length of this arc. If I'm able to measure the length of this particular arc, okay, If I'm able to measure the length of this particular arc and divide it with the radius of the circle, then I get the angle theta here in terms of radian. Okay, I'm repeating it again. If you know a particular arc length for a given radius of the circle, means you should know the arc length that is drawn and the radius of the circle. If you divide the arc length with the radius, that is equal to an angle in terms of radians. Okay, so mathematically we write it as theta is equal to L divided by R. So what exactly we are going to do in this particular exercise or topic, the exercise 3.1 is, the angles will be given in terms of degrees because till now you concentrated only on degrees. Our work is to complete it into, to convert it into radians. Okay, so if you ask me how did this come, that is the definition, that's it. There is no research for it. So theta is equal to L by R in terms of radians, that's it. Okay, that is why it is given here. So am I clear? To measure the angle in terms of degrees, you need a protractor. To measure the angle in terms of radians, you need two things. What are they? The arc length and the radius of the circle. Now I am going to show you a simple conversion of how to convert your angles from degrees to radian using this concept. Okay, this one you have actually indirectly learned last year under the concept of area of sector. Okay, I will explain that concept, and I want you people to think and tell me how to do the conversions. Okay, so last year you would have learned the area of a sector. So if I have a particular circle of radius r, here the angle is going to be theta. Okay, now if I want to find the area of the sector, what is the formula that you're going to use?
Theta by 360 into pi r square.
That's right. If I put a question, how did you get that? How did you know that it should be theta by 360 into pi r square? Can you give me a derivation for it?
Well, the area of the whole circle is pi r
Very good.
square.
So I'll put it like this: area and angle. So area of the whole circle is pi r square.
Okay. The area, the angle of the segment, which has to be the area
I'm
of
able
the
to understand.
segment.
So let's
So
let's
if we
take it like
divide
this.
that angle by 360, we'll get a fraction.
My question is, how did you get that 360? Why only 360? Why can't I write it as 180 or 90? My wish, no?
Because the angle covered by the whole circle is 360.
Very good. That is an even.
And
So
with
I wrote,
respect with the circle, we'll get a fraction
That's
which
right.
represents what part the segment represents.
very good, very good, very good. So if I cover an area of pi r square, okay, how much is the angle through which my compass is rotated? My compass is rotated through an angle of 360 degrees. If similarly, I want to find the area of the sector, if I take the area of the sector to be A, then what is the angle that I'm supposed to rotate? If I take, let me say the angle through which I've rotated is theta to form the sector. Then what will be the area of this? Then what you're supposed to do is, I'll write it in the reverse so that you're not confused. So angle and area. If I rotate my compass through an angle of 360 degrees, I get an area of pi r square. If I rotate the angle to theta, I get the area of the sector A, which I'm supposed to find. Then what is A in terms of theta and 360? Theta, 360 and pi r square. It is like this. If I ask you, go to a shop, let's say they're saying 1 pen is 5 rupees. If I ask you what is the cost of 10 pens, what will you do? It's just 5 into 10. You're going to cross multiply it, right? So this is called as a unitary method. So when you do it, you get 360 into A is equal to pi r square into theta. So what is going to be the value of A? A will be equal to theta divided by 360 into pi r square, where in this case theta is supposed to be in terms of degrees only. You cannot write it in terms of radian, because anyway last year you didn't learn it, but remember that whenever you use this formula, theta should be always written in terms of degrees. That is how this formula is derived. In a similar context, okay, in a similar context, we are going to derive the relation between radian and degree. Okay, concentrate, you will get it. It's a simple conversion. Okay, nothing so complicated. No, only point I want to be clear in your mind is theta has something to do with the length of the arc only, because radius of the circle is fixed. What is going to change as the value of theta is changing? It is only the length of the arc. For example, if I keep my compass here, if I rotate it till this step, I might get particular theta. If I rotate it beyond this, I might get a different value of theta. But if you see, everywhere the radius is constant. Radius is not going to change. So for the value of theta to be related, you need to know the length of the arc. Okay. Now see, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use the word length. Okay. Here I'm going to use the word degree. Here I'm going to use the word radian. Now, if I cover a length of 2 pi r, what does this 2 pi r stand for? You know this. It is a circumference of the circle, right? So 2 pi r is there. So for covering this much circumference, how many degrees am I supposed to rotate my compass?
360 degrees.
So 360 degrees is what I'm going to rotate my compass. So if I want to measure the angle in terms of radian, so 2 pi r tells me that the radius of my circle is 2 pi r, right? So what is going to be the value of radian? Radian is nothing but arc length divided by radius. So what is the arc length which is covered for a total angle of 360 degrees? It is 2 pi r. It's a complete circle. That's it. So the arc length is going to be 2 pi r divided by what is the radius of the circle? It is already r. So this and this will get cancelled. It is 2 pi. So from this, the concept you need to understand is 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi radians. So 360 degree is equal to 2 pi radian. If this is the context, then how much will 180 degrees be equal to?
Pi radian.
One
Pi
by
radian. Pi radian.
1 by 1.
Right. If you want to derive this, it's again a simple concept. Then it is nothing but pi r. That is going to be the length of the semicircle, because semicircle what subtends an angle of 180 degrees. So for pi r, you rotate the compass to 180 degrees. So radian measure arc length, that is pi r divided by radius. This and this will get cancelled. Answer is going to be pi. In a similar context, I ask you whatever degree you want. Okay. So whatever is the degree that I give you, will you be able to convert it to radian? That's my question.
Yes, we will.
Yes, we can do it. We can do it, right? So what we need to do is we need to frame a general relation for it. That's it. That is our task going forward. That we call it as formula or however you want it. You can call it some mathematical relation. Now what I'm going to do is observe. I'm going to use the same logic, nothing outside it. Okay. If I say, so one thing I'm clear, now I'm not going to include anything with respect to length, radian and degree. So I got a clarity. By now I got a clarity saying that degree radian. Just a minute. So I know 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi radians. Okay. Now 1 degree will be equal to how many radians?
Pi by 180 radian.
So that's very good. So how did you get it? 1 by 360 multiplied with 2 pi. So again, unitary method, if I call it as x cross multiply, x into 360 is equal to 2 pi into 1. So x will be equal to 2 pi divided by 360, which is going to be pi by 180. So 1 degree is equal to pi by 180 radian. If similarly, if I ask you, 1 radian is equal to how many degrees?
180 by pi.
180 by pi degree, as simple as that, right? So keeping this context in mind, what we are going to do is, if suppose, so why this is important for trigonometry, I'm just explaining. If suppose I have sine 180 degrees, so last year, actually would have not learned 180 degrees, but let me tell you, this 180, any angle can be measured. Have this in your mind. How to measure, we'll see it later. If I give you a question as sine 180 degrees, going forward, what you'll do is you'll not use degrees anymore. The same thing, how will you try to write it in terms of radian? I will write it as
Sin pi.
Sin pi. See, going forward, what will happen is you will see equations of this sort. You will no more see equations of 180 degrees or something. Okay. So that time you need to have a clarity. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we will convert degrees to radians, and we'll do some problems which are based on converting the degrees to radians and radians to degrees. Are we ready? If there is any doubt in the concept, please let me know. Anyone? I'm just waiting for your response. So assuming there is no doubt, all right? So hope everyone is clear. Now let me show you certain questions. So that I'm opening. So you can make a note of the one which I'm showing as a formula. Okay. So this is a problem solving trick that I'm showing you. Please make a note of it. This will be a shortcut kind of thing. So D stands for degree. This is a relation. Degree divided by 180 is equal to radian divided by pi. C stands for radian. Okay. So if you know the angle in terms of degree, degree divided by 180 will be equal to radian divided by pi. This is going to be the formula that we are going to use. So degree by 180 is equal to C divided by pi. You can make a note of this. Now the question is, if suppose I want to convert 30 degrees to radians, then what will you do? So if at all I have this formula, how will you do it? 30 degrees, am I audible by the way? I'm not getting responses.
Yes, sir.
Yes, right? Okay. Now, can someone tell me, I have 30 degrees in my hand. I want this to be converted to radians. How do I do it?
Pi by 6.
Okay, pi by 6 is the answer. So how do I use this formula? 30 divided by 180. So wherever you see degree, just take it and substitute it. 30 divided by 180 will be equal to radian divided by pi. So it is going to be 6, which implies C will be equal to pi by 6. So 30 degrees is equal to pi by 6 radians. Am I right? So I hope this is clear. So are we ready to do the problems? Can we start? So I'm just keeping the textbook open. So here it is given C. 30 degrees is pi by 6, 45 degrees is pi by 4. You can do the conversion from the formula that I gave you. I know it takes some time for you to remember. So I know this confusion exists. 30 degrees is pi by 6 and 60 degrees is pi by 3. One common mistake that people do is just because they see 60, they write this 6 in the denominator. Don't do that mistake. It is the counterpart. So 30 degrees will have 6 in the denominator, 60 degrees will have 3 in the denominator. This is a very commonly made mistake. So avoid this. Other things you can derive it, not a big deal. So I'm sure you would have got the concept. You can derive these things. Okay. Now, this is also like whatever I gave you is going to be the same formula. So this is the one which is given in your textbook. Okay, we are starting with the very first problem. So now they've, instead of giving 40 degrees, they've given you 40 degrees 20 minutes into radian measure. You need to convert this 40 degrees and 20 minutes into radians. How do I do it? Okay. So first, let's try to make the problem simple. Forget about the 20 minutes. Start with doing 40 degrees and tell me what is the answer. Tell me in terms of fraction, you need not convert it to decimals at all.
2 pi by 9.
2 pi by 9. So how did you get 40 divided by 180 is equal to C divided by pi? Am I right?
Yes.
C by so there's going to be 2 times, there's 9 times, so C will be equal to 2 pi by 9. So 2 pi by 9 is going to be 40 degrees. Now to convert, see whenever this minute gets added, no, how you are supposed to solve is first convert that minute into degree. Always start from right to left. I'm repeating it. Always starting whenever you have minutes and seconds involved. If suppose seconds is there, first solve second into degrees, second into minutes, then convert minute into degrees. I'll tell you how to do it. Not a big deal. So just concentrate. If I have 40 degrees and 20 minutes, now I'm concentrating only on 20 minutes. I forgot about 40. So I know that 1 degree is 60 minutes. How many degrees will make 20 minutes?
1 by 3 degrees.
1 by 3. Again, cross multiply. Wherever you're getting stuck, unitary method. 60 into x is equal to 20 into 1. So x is equal to 1 by 3. So 40 degrees right? I mean 20 minutes is 1 by 3 what? 1 by 3 degree. Now what you can do is you can add this to the, so you can, this 20 degrees can be multiplied, that is 1 by 3 can be multiplied and made this, and you can make this 40 degrees as a mixed fraction. So 40 1 by 3 is how you are going to write. Is this step clear? There's a very crucial step. So what I did is I'm repeating it. I converted 20 minutes to first degree. Means whatever is there on the right hand side, you should convert it to the term which is there on the left hand side. That is, minutes is there on the right hand side, so I converted minutes to degrees. If suppose the question is 40 degrees, 20 minutes and 20 seconds, then I need to convert seconds to minutes, okay, and minutes needs to be converted to degrees. So the procedure is still the same, whatever I followed here, the unitary method. Trust me, you practice 2-3 problems, you'll get it, not so tough. So this is going to be 121 divided by 3. So 121 divided by 3, what? Degrees. So we know that degree divided by 180 is equal to radian divided by pi. So degree is going to be 121 divided by 3 by 180 is equal to c divided by pi. You solve this, you are going to get the answer. So c will be equal to 121 pi divided by 540. I think it is divisible by. So I don't think both have a common factor. So the answer is going to be 121 pi divided by 540 radian. Is everyone clear with this?
Sure.
Yes.
Right? That's good. Now the next problem is the reverse conversion. The reverse conversion in the sense you are going to convert radians into degree. As simple as that. So when you need to do convert radians into degree, you need to multiply it with 180 by pi. Okay, let me explain this problem. So remember this. Remember the steps that I'm telling you. When you're trying to convert degrees to radians, approach from right to left. When you're converting radians to degrees, approach from left to right. Okay. So how to do is? See, 6 radian is supposed to be converted to degree measure. Again, I'm going to use the same formula. Degree divided by 180 is equal to radian divided by pi. So 6 radians is given. So degree divided by 180 is equal to 6 by pi. So 6 will be equal to, degree will be equal to 180 divided by pi into radian, that is 6. Okay, so you multiply it. Okay, treat them like numbers. 180 into 6 is going to give you, can someone tell me? So this pi can be written as 22 by 7. So 180 into 6 divided by pi, you write 22 by 7. Now, so you will get, so answer is given here. So the 7 will go up. What will happen is, this can be written as 1080 into 7 divided by 22. Okay, these many degrees. Now you are supposed to get it in a proper fraction. So when you need to, so once you get it in a proper fraction, for example, can someone tell me what is 1080 multiplied with 7? So it is going to be 0, 56, 7, 1. So check, is it 7170? 71. So 0, 56, 5, 5 and 7, 7560. Right?
Yes.
So what you do is, this 7560, you need to divide it with the denominator, that is 22. Then can you tell me what are the numbers we can multiply? 22 3 times. So 22 3s is going to be 66. So it is going to be 9, 96. So 22 into how many times is going to be 90? It's 8.
4.
4 times. So 8 is 88. So what is the remainder? It is going to be 8, 0. So 22 into again 3 times is going to be 66. That is, what is the value you are left out with?
14.
14. So how you can write this is, so 7560, how can I write it? 7560 divided by 22, how can I write it? So or else what we can do, see, according to the way he has solved, so 7650 divided by 22 will be 343 into How much is it? 14 divided by 22. Can I write it like this? No, 14 divided by 22. How did I get this? So the remainder in the numerator, the one which we are dividing, is in the denominator. Okay, so 343 into 14 divided by, so this can be simplified as 343 into 7 divided by 11. So that is why you got it as 343 7 by 11. This is a clear, this is a critical step. Okay, now what we are supposed to do is this 343, the whole number is the degree. 343 degree. Then you need to add plus this 7 by 11 is there, right? You need to convert that 7 by 11 degrees into minutes. So how will you convert degree into minute? So 7 by, I'll write the unit. I told you, right? There is only one method to follow. Just a minute, I'm muting everyone. There is only one method to follow. What is that? We know that 1 degree is how much? 1 degree is 60 minutes.
60
Then
minutes.
7 by 11 degrees will be how many minutes? It is going to be 7 by 11 into 60 divided by 1. So it is 7 by 11 into 60 what? Minutes. So please be careful. Here it is 343 degrees plus 7 into 60 by 11 minutes. So that is 343 degrees plus 7 into 60 is how much again? 420. Right. So 420, if you divide it with 11 again what you need to do is you need to write this 7 into 60 by 11 in the mixed fraction format. I hope it's clear. So 420 you are going to divide it with 11. What is it you are going to get? So this is going to be 3 times 33 and this is 90. Then how much is the value here going to be? It is going to be 8 here. So 88 and what is the remainder? 2. Then how do I write it? Tell me.
38 2 by 1.
So 38 into 2 by 11. Can I write it like this? So 38 2 by 11. This is going to be what? 38 2 by 11 minute. Again 343 degrees. 343 degrees plus 38. This one converted to minute plus 2 by 11. What will it be? This will be second. Sorry, 2 by 3 minute, right? 2 by 3 minute. Now what we are supposed to do is this 2 by 11 minutes is supposed to be converted to seconds. So how will you do it? So this 2 by 11 should be multiplied with 60. Okay. See, going forward, you need not do all these things. 1 degree, 60 minutes and all you need not do. By experience, you will get it. Since it is the first problem, I'm doing it in an elaborate way. It is going to be 38 minutes. Okay. Plus, how much is it going to be? 2 into 60 divided by 11. That is 120 divided by 11. If it is 121, it will exactly be 11. So it is approximated to 11 seconds. Plus 11 seconds. So the answer for 6 radians is going to be 343 degrees, 38 minutes and 11 seconds. So 6 radian is equal to this much, these many degrees. Are you people clear with this? So I'm telling you again, first time when you're doing, some of you might feel it difficult, but trust me, you do 2-3 problems, it is going to be easy. Just a simple conversion.
Sir, if we get the values,
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you. If you get the values, what is it you were asking?
if we get the values in fraction, is it necessary to like convert it into minutes and seconds, sir? Or can we leave it as it is?
No, you need to convert it to minutes because your answer has to be precise. Okay, you cannot stop it with this step. See, you have to come to this step. Seconds also is coming in fraction. No, you can stop it. That is where you can approximate things because you don't have any subdivision of seconds. Okay, but at least starting with degrees, you need to end it with seconds at least. Okay. So I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll just conclude by saying one thing. If you need to convert minute to second, multiply with 60. If you need to convert second to minute, divide it with 60. As simple as that. Okay. You can try out few problems. So I'll give you. You can try out from the textbook itself. You can try this problem in 3.1. You can do the first problem. and second problem for today. For you to understand, slowly work on it. So tomorrow we'll complete this exercise and I'll go to the next part. Next part will give you a reasons to many other questions, many other topics that you have learned last year. Okay. So I'm winding up the session. See you all tomorrow. Yeah. See you. Bye.